Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live in the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited. Big smile across the screen from here. Justin Reese. What is up, brother?
Jeff, what is happening, man? Appreciate you having me on here today, man. I'm super excited about this conversation.
This is going to be a fun conversation. We're having a good little conversation before we went on air here, so I'm looking forward to it. Justin's out in New Orleans. Let's talk about where you were born. Like, I just want to get into your path into the legal system, into school, and then take it from there, because there's so many things you're doing right now. Play your agent. I mean, you're on TV. There's tons of things we're going to talk about. So
we'll wear a bunch of different hats.
We'll play around with everything. But where did you grow up, and how many siblings did you have? And give me a little run of your childhood.
No, absolutely, man. So I was born and raised in New Orleans. I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger than me. And I'm going to tell you, man, I truly feel like I'm blessed to be from New Orleans. And the reason why I say that is because New Orleans is just that truly very unique city that you do not get anywhere else in the United States. And we have a lot of our European roots, that is kind of ingrained in our city. A lot of our African roots, culturally, you'll see that comes out with the music, jazz, our Cajun food, our Creole food. Matter of fact, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of mix between Canada and Louisiana, because you have the Cajuns from Nova Scotia that migrated down to Louisiana. So, we've got that, that connection there. And just like I said, the music, the food, the culture. And, I tell you, man, I always tell people I really did not truly appreciate or really kind of knew how special New Orleans was until I got to college. And, when I went to Morehouse in Atlanta, and I remember meeting, people for the first time, and you kind of like, hey, what's up? Who are you? Where you from? And then they would get to me, and I'm like, I'm Justin. I'm from New Orleans. And they were like, you from New Orleans? I mean, and everybody's spouting off like, yeah, I'm from New York, I'm from LA, Detroit, Chicago. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool. And then I say New Orleans, and they're like, whoa, you from New Orleans? Oh, that's like, and everybody starts asking all of these questions. So that was cool, man.
I think New Orleans is one of those places that are most people's bucket list. And and you don't know if it's because the party life or their festivals or whatever it is, but it's just that glimmer and light where a lot of people, that, like you said, the food, the culture, the music, I think is a huge thing on a lot of people's bucket list. So when people hear it, it's almost like that Vegas feel. It's like, oh, I gotta make it there one day, kind of thing, right?
Yes, it's definitely the same kind of like atmosphere, like as far as like restaurants, like you would go to Vegas, everybody goes to, the restaurant scene in Vegas is amazing. The party scene, but it's still different though, because like, Vegas is like everybody's like super dressed up and like going out to like these clubs. But where New Orleans is, it's a little bit more comfortable. It's still a great party, but it's kind of come as you are. So just how like you're dressed right now, how I'm dressed, I got on t-shirts, we can literally go out like this and just have the best time of our life.
Yeah, I love it. So I read quickly that your pops was in the legal system as well, right?
Yes.
So obviously that, I'm assuming, led you in your path.
It did. I mean, I'm just being completely transparent, man. It was actually quite the opposite originally. Look, my father, when I was growing up, practiced law. He's an attorney and was a very successful attorney. And my dad was, he had some really big shoes to fill, and it was intimidating. It really was intimidating. And look, my father did not put any added pressure on me. Neither did my mother. They were always like, just strive to be the best that you can be. But it was the outside pressures. Everybody was like, you want to be like your dad when you grow up?
Yeah, of course.
Like, no. Like, I mean, it was intimidating. So I went into college with the goals of being a doctor. I'm like, I'm going to be the complete opposite. And just like a lot of people, when you start college, they start off pre-med, but that don't mean you go finish pre-med. And I was one of them. I was like, yo, I was doing great in all my classes, but these science classes, they were kicking my butt. Yeah. So I really had to have, like a heart to heart with myself. And I talked to my parents, as always, because we were always very open and honest and communicated with one another. Very lucky to have the parents and blessed to have the parents that I have. And, my dad would always reinforce me. It was never a one-time thing. He was like, son, you don't have to be me. You always got to be your own man.
Yeah,
you always got to follow your own path.
Yeah.
Even if you want to do what I do, you still have to set your own path, And I think once I finally had that realization, because I always did enjoy, what he was doing. I remember even being a small child, watching all the old law shows. I'm talking about the old, like LA Law, like with Corbin, Corbin Burnson, I think way back in the day, watching those shows back in the 80s when I was a little kid. And I finally just like, you know what? This is actually something I really do want to do. And, I took the LSAT, applied to law school, and, started practicing, man. Say the rest is history.
How long have you been practicing now for? How many years?
So I've been practicing for a little over 10 years now.
Time flies, huh?
Huh?
Time flies.
Oh, man. Super fast. Super fast. I mean, I literally still remember my first day of law school like it was yesterday. And I'm like, and that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. What do you give me a couple of words? What do your parents mean to you?
My parents are my rock, man. They are literally my everything. They have been instrumental in getting me where I am today. And I would not be here without them. They have always been very tough, but they have been very fair.
Yeah.
And
I love this.
That was one of the things, like I look back now as an adult, thinking about my childhood, I was like, I always think my parents were like, they were strict, but they weren't like just overbearing. They had expectations, they had things that they needed me to accomplish to be prepared for the world. No matter if I didn't like them at the time or not, they were a team and helped raising me and my brother. And I just really appreciate them.
I love that. I mean, everything you're saying there, I mean, that's me in a nutshell as a dad. Like my 13, 15-year-old, they cook, clean, laundry, barbecue. We get home from the office, or me and my wife get home, and my 15-year-old daughter has dinner ready. But all these things we've done, we prepare them that they're ready for the real world. Like I teach them sales, I teach them financing, I teach them public speaking. I do all these things that the school system's not doing to prepare them for the real world. So I love that hard love. You always know in your head as a parent that your child will get to the certain age when they start realizing time is a currency, not abundance, and you start appreciating those lessons your parents taught you.
And that's some of the things now, that I've really been teaching myself, because growing up, and look, my parents are amazing. Like I said, they put me in all the best positions to win.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we did not do as a family was really talk about entrepreneurship. It was very much education focused. You make good grades, you go to good schools, go to grad school, and you get great high paying jobs. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm in that position.
Yeah.
But I think if we were able to add to that, and that's like, look, my dad is now a very successful judge, very well respected judge in the city of New Orleans. My mother's now an entrepreneur, where she was a social worker, clinical social worker the majority of her career. She became an entrepreneur in 2005.
Do you mind me asking what her business is?
No, absolutely. So she does consulting work in different capacities. She as a social worker, and she also has a master's degree in psychology. So she has she's been contracted to do jury consulting in the legal field. She does diversity training with different companies, government agencies. She works on other projects with Energy around the city of New Orleans. So she does a lot of consulting work.
Yeah. That's awesome. So continue what you were saying about the entrepreneur.
No, absolutely. So like, my parents always stress education,
yeah.
but we never really talked about entrepreneurship, not like probably the way that you talked about it, like with your kids, like figure out like how to do a business and things like that, and I'm now seeing it because we're now kind of doing it together later in life, and one of the things that we've got into, and I've kind of started taking the spearhead, it was like diving into real estate. And, that was something, like I said, the entrepreneurship route wasn't something that we taught as many, like my mother has 2 master's degrees. My father has, a law degree. We didn't have that early on, all of a sudden now this light bulb has gone off, because I'm sitting back and I'm reading a lot more and educating myself a lot more. And I'm sitting back looking at a lot of these people who are now successful. And it's not that I'm like, oh, if you could do that, I could do that. But I'm like, what's the formula? And it's just like, wait a minute.
There's a process to everything.
There's a process to it. That's what needs to be done. I can do that. Let me sit down and educate myself on how to do it. And now, and I always tell everybody, it don't matter when you start as long as you do it, right? And don't be scared to hop in and actually get in the game. Because the other thing is too, a lot of people will just study and won't do anything. And I was actually victim of that.
It's the fear of failure, right?
Fear of failure and paralysis by analysis.
I love that. Yeah.
I just for a while I would also just study. I'm like, you know what? It's actually time to physically get in the game.
I think the biggest thing too, sorry to cut you off, Justin. The biggest thing too is a lot of people are always waiting for the perfect moment, and there is no perfect moment.
Never.
So I always jump into stuff before I'm prepared, because you just it's swim or drown. It's just, you got to do it. You put yourself in a situation when you're forced to do it, you're going to find ways to be resourceful, and you're going to find ways to achieve. So putting yourself in a situation where you're never going to be ready, just do it. And then as it comes, it just starts happening, processes all start falling in place, right?
No, absolutely. Like, I decided, I said, you know what, this year, because I've been wanting to do, in addition to practicing law, I've always wanted to get into real estate.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to either flip properties and or, use that to like also buy, investment properties to hold.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, I've been saying it for years, I want to get into real estate. And I think this kind of like using COVID was actually a blessing, because my practice, we were not in any danger of like shutting down or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we did take a significant hit. I do personal injury law.
I think everybody had. Yeah.
Yeah. I do personal injury law. And so, it's weird because I actually love what I do. And I tell people this all the time. Like, I actually enjoy, representing clients, helping them get to all their doctor's appointments and getting everything they need to help them get back on their feet. Next chapter, worst case scenarios, if it's been a wrongful death accident, working with the families to like try to get them set up for the future.
Yeah.
Right. But when COVID happened, there's nobody working, there's nobody driving, there's nobody working offshore. Yeah. So like, there is no business. And it's weird to say it the opposite way, but so with that being said, I had to like, look, it's, I got to figure something out, because the income I was making the past year, 18 months, 2 years, 24 months is not quite there.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you, the housing market went crazy. I was like, well, look, if this ain't no time like the best time. This actually is the best time.
It was, yeah, 100%.
This was the perfect time. And I was like, I got to do this. I have to do this. And so I finally hopped into the real estate, business as well. And I'm flipping properties now, just negotiating one. I should be closing in 30 days to start a flip on that one. And now I've got my parents involved as well. So awesome. That's kind of like the full circle, because, again, we all now finally started having these conversations about entrepreneurship, diversifying, creating other streams of revenue and income. And we're now just going full steam ahead, man.
Yeah, I love it. I started that. So I don't flip, but I invest. We have 9 properties. I invest in commercial and vacation rentals.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing what I do. I love vacation rentals, anything in a 4-season location that you have full control, whether it's Booking.com, Airbnb, and you could, with a small staff, cleaning staff, be flipping those nights, 2 nights, 1 week, huge income, huge rental income. Yeah. So I love the real estate part of it, because there's nothing that's, if you buy smart, there's nothing that has a higher return on investment.
Completely agree.
At all.
I completely agree.
Yeah, any young entrepreneur, I tell them, the first minute you have the opportunity to jump on real estate and start profiting from it, and then from there, it's just a snowball effect. You start with one property, and then the income, you start with another, and it just starts snowballing. And we've been doing one property a year for 9 years, and you just keep going and going and going. Yeah. It starts building the snowball effect. So I love that you're doing that. Let's talk about 2 things. Let's talk about TV. You're on a TV show. What's the TV show called?
Southern Charm New Orleans.
When did that start? How did that start? When did that start?
Man, that's actually a crazy story, man. I used to always tell people. So like, let me. I got to go a little bit back to the beginning. Back to the beginning.
And before we start the story, I want to say just one thing to the audience. If you want to brand yourself, you want to get out there and build yourself as an entrepreneur, whatever the minute you get on TV, your exposure goes, if you use it right.
If you use it right.
So go. Sorry, tell your story.
So It goes back to college. I had finished pretty much my major and everything that I needed to graduate, but I still needed credit hours to graduate. Okay. So I spent my last semester, and look, Morehouse is an all-male school in Atlanta, and then our sister school, which is right next door to us, which is an all-female school, is Spelman College. Yeah. And they have a drama department at the university, at the college. And I went to pretty much spend my last credit hours, like 9 hours in the drama department. I was like, look, I need to figure out something. And I'm gonna tell you, I learned very quickly I'm not a good actor, very quickly. But I appreciate the craft, what people really do. And then I always told my friends who are, some of them are actually very successful actors now from college, that you've seen in lots of movies and all this stuff. And I always said, if I'm ever gonna be discovered, I'm gonna have one of those discovery stories. Like I was walking in the mall and someone said, "Hey," or I was with you at an audition because I gave you a ride, and it was like, "Hey, would you mind reading these lines, real quick?" Because I was never like, I'm gonna actively pursue it. So fast forward, I literally can tell you where I was. It was October 2015. This is how long this process was. It was October 2015. I'm getting ready to walk into the Saints and the Giants game. Yeah. And the production company that reached out, that started formatting and that ultimately did the show had already started with another group of people. And they're walking past me going into the Saints game as well. And they're like, "Hey, Justin, this production company reached out to us. They said they're looking for, this kind of guy. And I thought you might be perfect for it. So I just gave them your name and your number. And I hope you don't mind." And I was like, "Sure, no problem." Yeah. I'm still at this time, I'm still like a young attorney practicing law, still getting my feet wet. Things are going good. I'm like, all right, cool. So I get a call. And they say, "Hey, we're trying to put together, this show for Bravo, New Orleans. We want to interview you, do some Skype calls." And I'm like, "All right, sure. What's the harm that's gonna be? What's the worst y'all gonna do? Tell me no." And I go right back to practicing law and still do what I was doing and stay on the grind that I was on. I'm like, I have nothing to lose at this point. So I was like, all right, cool. So we kept doing interviews, kept doing Skype calls, and surely they kept reaching back out to me. Now, I've had some experience down this road before, so I knew how Hollywood worked, and I did not take it at face value or get my hopes up, because I had been down this process. And look, folks in California and Hollywood and TV and film industry, it's not like any other job. They don't call you or send you an email saying, "Hey, we appreciate this, but we decided to go in a different direction." Yeah. They don't do that. They just stop taking your calls. They just stop calling you. Yeah. They move on. The whole nines. They just keep moving forward. And then you find out later when the advertising and the marketing come out for the show that you was trying to get on, you see the people and it wasn't you. That's how you find out. Yeah. And so I kind of been down this road. So a little skeptical, but I'm still like not really putting a bunch of stock. But when they call me, I'm still myself. I'm still, answering all the questions, that they want, and just kept going through the process. And then next thing I know, we do like what they call some sizzle reels, some filming. And I'm a part of that. And I'm like, okay, this is different. I haven't been this far before. Now I'm really into uncharted territories here. Yeah. So, filming with them.
What long of a time of a process from that stadium day till that date of the sizzle?
So I got the first call in 2015. Yeah. We started doing a sizzle, we filmed for like a week to kind of show the network what it would potentially look like. Yeah. That was in the summer of 2016.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That was in the summer. It's so crazy. Like, people don't realize the process.
Oh, the process to get there takes forever. Yeah. But once you get started, it goes quick. Yeah. So we did that in 2016. Everything is going good. Sometimes I would hear from them from like a month or so or a month and a half, and they call back like, "Hey, we're coming down." And then we get a call saying that, okay, the network is really liking you guys so far. It's this green light-ish. And I'm like, I don't even know what green light-ish means. And so the executive comes down, I guess, looks at everybody, kicks the tires, see how we are. And then I don't hear anything for like, another couple of weeks. Then I get a call in January. and 17.
Wow.
And now they're saying, we're coming down in a month to start filming. We want to get there for Mardi Gras. Get ready. I'm like, a month? Like, what? And so sure enough, we film and set Mardi Gras 17. Then, because again, this is the first time, we finished filming. We filmed for like maybe 10 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So of the actual filming. And we still have to do interviews. So like when you see us kind of talking about what's going on in the different scenes, we still do that like all the way through like the summertime. And so then it does not premiere until like 2018. So this was like a
crazy process.
This was like a 3-year process, man.
And it was one season. How many seasons are you guys still recording? How many seasons do we?
So we've done 2 seasons so far. So look, after we did the first season, you know, they were like, after it aired, and like, I forget, we started filming like season 2, like right after that. But then with COVID and everything else happening, I have no idea, you know, what's going on, if we're gonna move forward.
It's so crazy. They don't keep you in the loop at all or nothing.
No. I'm just kind of like,
and think of how much money is invested in something like this.
It's a lot. Production costs is crazy.
It's insane. Yeah. So when it comes to reality TV, how I always want to ask something. Now, I've had a couple of reality stars on. Having a camera in your face everywhere you move.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get used to that?
After a while, at first it's weird. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. It's really weird at first. But then after a while, you're just kind of like, because you're gonna have your guard up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're naturally going to have your guard up, and people either do one or 2 things.
Dumb things. Really dumb stuff.
They either one, when as soon as somebody gets a camera put in their face, they just turtle up real quick. Yeah. They just go silent. Somebody who might have been like the life of the party in like real life, you know, someone who's like just can work a room and talk to everybody, you know, but when you put that camera in front of their face, they turtle up real quick.
Yeah.
You have another set, when you put the camera in front of their face, they turn the volume all the way up.
Yeah.
And they just go over the top, go crazy. And then you have the folks who truly are just truly themselves, you know, truly themselves. So you have like one of those three categories, but I think you eventually start to let your guard down. You know, you can have, you know, the serious conversations, you can have the fun joking, you know, pranks and conversations that you like to do as well. It takes a little time, because I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, I didn't turtle up, but I had my guard up. You know, you know, I didn't want to.
And you're a practicing lawyer. I mean, there's certain things you need to protect.
Yes, that was the biggest thing, because we had just started. Things in my legal career were really starting to take off and go well. Yeah. And I'm like, one, I do not want to do anything that's going to affect this, because I have no idea how long this show is going to be on. We could be a one-hit wonder. We could be a one and done. Yeah. You know, I have no idea where this road is going to go. And so I had my guard up a little bit the first season. Second season, you'll see that I actually got more vulnerable and opened up a lot more. And it was kind of like a different side of me that a lot of people, you know, got to see as well. So like I definitely started to warm up to it.
If Southern Charm doesn't come back, this is something you'll pursue on a different angle. I mean, there's so much. I just love the whole side of the reality TV, because if you're smart about it, you, like I said, we talked about this before, you could really take that platform of self-branding and use it towards so many other opportunities.
Sure.
Entrepreneur, tons. Because now you're on TV, a lot of entrepreneurs will want to work with you and use your face or your name or your brand to build other brands around it, right? So have you seen opportunities since then?
I have, actually. Some of the opportunities, you know, I feel really didn't like necessarily kind of fit, you know, and I'm not going to put some of those companies out there, but weren't really fit what I was looking to do. But the opportunities have been availing themselves. Yeah. You know, it's also helped with my legal practice. You know, being locally right here in New Orleans, people saw me on the show. Yeah. They liked how I represented myself and carried myself, and then they was like, you know what, I like this guy, I like what he stands for. Yeah. So I started getting clients from that.
They say. an episode on TV. So I had I don't know if you know who he is, Richard Rawlings on Gas Monkey Garage.
Yeah.
So he ran the show. He was the I guess the face of the Fast and Loud show on the History Channel for like 8-9 years, and he said like one episode, if you utilize it right, could be like $1 million in advertising. It's insane. And I mean, when he started the reality show, I mean, it was his show. He was smart, and he literally launched a tequila company, launched an energy. He launched all these and at the beginning they were like, yeah, go do whatever you want. And then near the end, they're like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. The restrictions started happening really, really tight to the point where he was like, what's the purpose of doing this? And it was after season 9 or 10, he just said, forget it.
Oh, yeah. So look, Bravo is hip to that. And so the one thing is being an attorney.
Yeah.
No matter what I say or do about my business, you cannot share attorney's fees with non-attorneys. Yes. So I could talk about being a lawyer all day because according to our rules of ethics, I cannot give anybody a piece of my business. And I can talk about this kind of law. I do this, I do this, I do this. Yeah. They can't touch it. Right. Yeah. And that's by law. They can't touch it.
Yeah.
But if you do promote like your business or whatever it is that you're doing, you know, Bravo gets a piece of that action. And that came from Bethany Frankel, who was on Real Housewives of New York. Yeah. Because when she did Skinny Girl Margaritas, she made an absolute killing on it. Like 9-figure killing. I don't know what the exact number is, but it was like a 9-figure killing on it when she sold that portion of her brand. And Bravo was like, wait a minute. Yeah. We just allowed you to market your brand all through this show, and we got nothing for it. Yeah. So from that point moving forward, like, and it was a part of all of our contracts, no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't agree to it, you will not be on any Bravo show. So they're now like, if you do anything, like if you see how all of the housewives come out with like a fragrance or a makeup line, they're this, that, and the third.
They're shareholders. Bravo
is getting a cut of that. 100%.
Yeah. I know you see that too. I mean, and then it's so evident. I mean, when you watch a reality show, even when they slowly put it on the counter, like brands and stuff, you know, like as a business owner, you can see it's so obvious, the branding, right? But I wasn't aware until Richard Rawlings brought it up on the show. He was just like, he goes, got to the point where even our like nothing could be advertised anymore. Yeah. But he went for about 4 or 5 years building his brands and building all these companies and building bars and building restaurants all through this reality TV. So he's become this massive entrepreneur. Like, he's got like 15 million followers on social media all through this TV reality show, which is, I mean, it's amazing.
Insane. And look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Bravo's doing, because I mean, at the end of the day,
business is business. Yeah.
Business is business. And I'm not mad at Bravo for doing that, because more likely than not, you might not have gotten that opportunity otherwise. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad deal either at the end of the day.
No. I mean, it's just, you're essentially trading your time for free advertising. That's, you know, your 100%. brand's gonna grow. And the cost of that, if you were to be doing commercials or whatnot, you probably have less people watching a commercial with PBR recording now than you are the reality show itself, right?
That, and plus too, when you think about, let's take it like, again, we talk about business here, you're actually, by them getting a percentage, there's no upfront cost for marketing that you have to pay. So that money that you don't have to spend on marketing can be held in-house for manufacturing and, you know, whatever, tons. For all of your units that you need to produce your business. So it winds up still being a win-win situation.
Yeah, 100%. So you're a player agent. How did that come about? I mean, it kind of, I see it's crazy. Like, I've known quite a few lawyers, especially lawyers in the US, and they all somehow, one way or another, if you're a big sports guy, somehow get into being a player agent by accident or by knowing some guy in college. Somehow it always happens.
It was.
How did it happen?
One of those stories. It was by accident. It was not. It was not something. Again, it's the same thing with being on this TV show. It's not something that I was actively pursuing. It just kind of happened.
So how did it happen?
So I was with a friend of mine, and this goes back to probably 2009. 2009, 2010. I was at getting ready to go to the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. It was like, I think it was like LSU and Ohio State, something like that. This was like I say, years ago. And one of my friends, he's older than me. He's an attorney and he's also a sports agent, but he's based in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And he was telling me, he was like, Justin, you have all of these friends that play in the NFL, and at this time, look, I'm 39 now, but at that time I was probably like 27, 20, 28, something like that. And he was like, you have all of these friends who are in the NFL, they know you, they love you, they trust you, you should be representing them. I'm like, I really do not want to be a sports agent. Like, I have no desire to be a sports agent. And look, he was right. I played high school. I played football in high school, and I played football in college. Yeah. So I knew a lot of guys, and my high school is like a big perennial, like, powerhouse football school. We are ranked, I just read an article, we're ranked like number 14,
which is massive, in
the country for producing the most professional athletes. Yeah. NFL, NBA, things like that. Wow. From its inception. And yeah. I tell people, when I was at St. Augustine High School, we had, from the time that I was in the 8th grade when I was on the varsity team, and the guys that were ahead of me, and then when I became a senior and the guys that were like underclassmen beneath me, I wound up playing with 8 guys that made it to the NFL.
Wow.
Which is
a huge number.
It's a huge number.
The statistics is very low to turn pro, any sport. So that's a big number. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I played with 8 guys, and that was part of the reason. Then when I got to college, it was even more when you add on top of that.
Yeah.
He was like, all of these guys who play in the NFL. And I mean, he kept trying to convince me. And
did you ever keep those relationships going?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay, awesome, man.
I did.
Yeah.
And look, I'm still friends with them today. They're now coaches in like the big Power 5 schools and working in the NFL. Yeah. But so here's the funny part. So it takes him like 2-3 years for him to convince me. And so he just wears me down, and I'm finally like, all right, fine. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go take the test. I'm going to get certified. But here's the irony of the whole situation. By the time I do it, I'm now like 31, right? So at this point, we all know the shelf life of a professional athlete is like coming to an end at, like, if you make it this far, it's like 30, 31.
Yeah.
So by the time I got certified, all of my friends are now on the backside of their careers.
Yeah.
They've already got representation, and they're like kind of finishing out their NFL careers. So now I'm starting in with like this whole new young group of guys who I do not know. Even though we might be from the same high school, I still don't know them.
Yeah.
And so I'm now on the same playing field with everybody else. There's no like coming in with like extra leverage because I have these already existing relationships and stuff like that. But it's still been a fun ride. I've represented some really good guys. I'm not going to sit here and, and say I'm bigger than what I am. I've not had any big Pro Bowlers or anything like that, but I've represented some really good, hardworking guys who've made it, who've been on a 53-man roster for the entire year, and who've had some legit success.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the roster for the entire year, I mean, you've done well.
You're doing something right. Absolutely.
100%.
You're doing something right.
Is this something you're going to continue to explore and grow?
I'm still certified. I still have a couple guys that I'm representing. I will say, there is a part of me, I'm very competitive. Whenever I do something, I want to be the best at it. And doing this, I feel like I did a good job, but I feel like it wasn't something that I kind of just...
Your passion is not there.
Yeah.
I could just by your voice, you could tell.
Yeah. It's not really, really there. Like, the guys that I do represent, I am committed to those guys.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I am committed to trying to help them, but I have not been this big, active, trying to recruit to get new guys. I'm partnered with other guys, and we'll still work some things out. And, they kind of do the recruiting, but I'm not gung-ho about traveling like I used to go to the universities and recruit these guys like I used to, or hop on flights and, go to all the games like I used to. Because it's different. It's
different cycles of life, right? I mean, you're going through a different cycle of life where, like I said, entrepreneur, flipping houses, real estate, there's different cycles of life. And as an entrepreneur, you got to really understand where your energy is most needed, or where your energy is going to be the best suited, right? So obviously it's a different cycle of your life right now, and who knows, maybe years from now something might pop up and you might jump back on it. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But as you're talking, I could tell the passion is not there. You're just like, okay, let me finish this off.
Yeah. It's definitely changed, man. I mean, and look, it takes a toll on you, man. You know, when you're on the road, like literally like every weekend, and it's not a cheap job to have either. It's a lot of cost involved, especially with traveling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very competitive, I'm sure. Very cutthroat.
That was the other thing. You know, it got very what's the word I'm looking for? You know, a lot of times I had clients that, you know, I'm the one that took the chance on them. You know, they weren't necessarily the highest rated guy. I invested in them, and they actually wound up doing something. You know,
but that's special.
Yeah, they wind up actually doing something special, and then what winds up happening, the bigger agents come in and they swoop in and start, you know, dangling shiny new keychains and things in front of them. And those guys, they, you know, look, I know what it's like to be 24, 25. I remember what it's like to make 24, 25-year-old decisions.
Yeah.
And they wanted what was new, what was cool. Yeah. And they came in, the agents came in and got them at the peak of their career, made the most money off of them. And so that part was very frustrating, you know, and that's a very common practice in the industry. It's just like, you know,
where's your mindset? And this is something I had this topic. I mean, I've talked about this a few times. Division I schools, athletes not getting paid, which I think is absolutely crazy. Where's your mindset? Do you think that'll ever really change?
Well, now it has.
So it is in. I know it's in the process with.
No, it's official. It's
official, huh?
Yes, it's official down here. So athletes are now able to sign marketing deals with companies, and some of these guys now are getting paid very handsomely. There are actually been like, that's not an overwhelming amount. Yeah. There's at least a handful that now have a collective amount of like $1 million now while they're in college.
Seriously, when did it officially come through?
This year. Okay. It's called, I forget what the acronym is NIL. Yeah. I forgot what the acronym stands for right now, but they're able to sign marketing deals and get marketing dollars from different companies in their market. So like, for example, if you're a player at a big university, let's say like LSU here in Louisiana, LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
You know, Baton Rouge, if you're one of the bigger players on the team, you might have like the big dealership who's right there in Baton Rouge can now do marketing deals. Like, you know, one of the auto dealerships can now do marketing deals with the players. If you're like a big restaurant or you're a big, you know, whatever company, you can now do marketing deals with the players.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, because it's something that it's been talked about for years and years and years, and you see all these kids, their likeness being used in video games and every advertising in the school, and the school and the coaches are making tons and tons of money. Okay, I love that. I love that aspect of it.
Some of these larger programs literally bring in 9 figures a year. Like
I don't even question it. I mean, it's a different world. I mean, we're from Canada, so a lot of people don't understand college sports in the US, because college sports in the US are just as big, if not bigger, than pro sports, some of the pro sports.
They bring in more revenue than pro sports, in my opinion. I think some of them.
It's crazy. Crazy.
You know, because remember, there's no salary cap. You don't have to pay players. There's no you know, there's the overhead or the payroll. There's no payroll.
There's no payroll, a lot of volunteers. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So the money's insane.
I'm going to ask you, and pardon me for not knowing the exact year, but obviously you've been in New Orleans your whole life. Were you affected by the back in the storm in it's probably like
2005.
2005. It's been that long already.
Yeah. Hurricane Katrina, 2005.
Yeah, 2005. Yeah. So let's give you a little, was your house, your family affected by it?
Oh, absolutely. So I had literally just moved back to New Orleans from college. Well, I graduated from college in 2004. I was teaching for a year in Atlanta, and I got into Loyola Law School in New Orleans. So I had just moved back, and I had just finished my orientation week in law school, and I'm supposed to start class on Monday. Wow. And so we evacuate. I'm at the hotel with my parents and my brother, my godmother. And I'm thinking like, all right, you know, the storm had actually passed. Like, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
The storm had passed. The sun is out. And then all of a sudden, it's just this tidal surge, you know, throughout the city. and we're like looking at the TV like, wait, this can't be real. The entire city of New Orleans is completely flooded right now. The entire city. Looking at it on TV, and we're like, and I mean, like the storm had passed. The storm was over, completely over, and we were getting ready to pack up and go home. And now, you know, like I said, we see this tidal surge, and I mean, we're like looking at each other like, what are we supposed to do? I'm supposed to start class on Monday. Clearly, that's not happening. You know, I wound up spending the next 6 weeks in a hotel with my parents before my law school finally said that they were setting up like a satellite campus at University of Houston in Houston, Texas. And I wound up moving out there for my first semester of law school. But yeah, a lot of my entire family, you know, my home, we had 6 feet of water, or for your international viewers, we had 2 meters of water. Everybody in my family's homes were destroyed. It wasn't like one of those situations where, you know, somebody's house may burn down and you kind of go stay with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, we were all in the same boat.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously an outsider watching it and it's crazy how time flies by.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just 16 years, right? I mean, the time absolutely flies by. When you look back, how many years did it really, like from an outsider net looking, how many years did it really take for the city to get back on its feet properly?
So I will sit here and say today that there's still abandoned homes in certain parts of town.
There still is, huh?
Still. Now, I will say that let's just say properly for it to get back on its feet. It probably took legit, I would say 4 years, 5 years. Like where you could sit here and say, like, okay, New Orleans for the most part is back. Like it took about a good 4 years. Like they still carried on as best they could with like Mardi Gras and like, you know, the other festivals and things like that. But when you're talking about rebuilding, like a lot of the homes, you know, people were moving in from out of state, which was cool. So we have a lot of transplants that were moving in, settling here. We're also building homes and settling into the city. And look, there's even still homes in certain part of town that have still been abandoned since Katrina. Matter of fact, I got one. And look, I live in a town that's been part of town that's been redeveloped. Yeah. I still have a house on my block that has not been touched since Katrina. And I'm actually been begging the owners to buy their house so I can flip it. So I can flip it myself, literally. But for whatever, I'm still working on them. They're not ready to sell for whatever reason just yet. And that's okay. It's their house. They can do whatever they want with it. But I would like to, you know, get it redone. But there's still homes, out there.
Yeah. I mean, especially as you get into real estate, I mean, there's opportunity there too, right? I love how you've seen that. That's all opportunity for you.
Yeah.
To help rebuild the city, which I think is amazing, and as an entrepreneur to profit as well, which I love that part of it as well. This has been a fun conversation, buddy.
Man, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate your time, Jeff. Thanks for having me on here.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Superpower. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, my superpower would be, I would like to be like this infinite knowledge person. Like I've always said, when I talk to people, they ask me like, I want to be an expert in everything. I want to know every language fluently. I want to be an expert doctor, engineer, lawyer. Like that's what I want my superpower to be, like just infinite knowledge.
I love it. No one's ever said that, but I love it. I mean, that's something I would love as well. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered or described by your loved ones?
Something happened to me today. I would want people to know that I was someone who truly cared about people, cared about the community. I was someone who always wanted to help others.
Love it. Do you want to leave anything with our audience?
One, you guys, I appreciate you listen to my story. I really appreciate you, Jeff. If you guys want to find me, I'm on Instagram, Twitter at the Justin Reese, and TikTok. I have the same handle, the Justin Reese, on all the platforms. And my new thing that I'm saying to everybody now is just doing acts of love and kindness. So
love that.
What I did for my birthday, and I'm gonna do it again today. I want people to do 2 random things. One, if it's someone that you haven't talked to in a while, even if you may have a little bit of a kind of a squabble with, just send them a text message saying, "Hey man, I love you." And then just do a random act of kindness to someone you don't know. If you're walking down by the street, just compliment someone. That's a nice outfit. I love your shirt. I love your purse. You know, just say something kind to someone. You're an amazing person. I'm sincerely mean that. I want you to know that. Just 2 random acts of kindness.
It's so crazy. Something simple like that, or even something like a smile.
Yeah.
How it could change somebody's outcome of a day, which I love that. I love that. On all our show notes, I'm going to put all our social media links, everything to get a hold of Justin. If you are in need of a lawyer in New Orleans, I'll put all the links for that as well. And I appreciate you, brother. This has been fun. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. And if actually lawyer all across Louisiana, and I do take cases in other states as well too. So
there you go.
I don't discriminate. Holler at me.
Love it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Jeff. Have a good one.